Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Day of the Dead. This movie tells the story of a small group of military personnel and some survivals who dwell in an underground bunker, as they seek to find a cure in a world overrun by zombies. Will they finally find the vaccine? Let's find out in Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead. Bloodline begins when a woman named Zoe is walking the city's streets. The situation around her was very chaotic. Cars and buildings were on fire, and people ran in all directions. 4 hours earlier, Zoe and her friends were doing medical studies at a university. They are observing the body of a man who died with mysterious symptoms. The scene changed. Zoe was checking a blood sample in the study room when the lecturer approached and told her that the blood sample she was studying was very special, because it had very strong antibodies. The lecturer also said that the sample was a good research material for her final project as a medical student. Zoe then went to the owner of the blood sample named Max. The man seemed interested and often flirted with her while doing her routine weekly blood sampling. Max even carved her name on his arm. But Zoe flatly rejected him because of the age difference and because she didn't like Max. Max then leaves when one of Zoe's friends, Abby, comes into the room to invite her to a party held in the college hall. Shy Zoe looks awkward in the crowd. So far, she has only focused on studying to graduate and become a doctor. It never crossed her mind to have fun, even if it was to relax. Zoe's friends are starting to run out of beer. She then offered to take some beer that happened to be stored in the morgue. When she finally finds a jug of beer in a dark corner of the morgue, Max ambushes her from behind and tries to overpower her. But then, the corpse of the man who had been the object of research suddenly wakes up and turns into a zombie, then attacks Max fiercely. Without thinking, Zoe fled from the morgue and returned to the party venue to warn everyone. But no one believed her words until then. The zombies came and began to prey on them one by one. Zoe managed to escape from the deadly attack. 5 years later, Zoe put her story into writing, which tells that the terrible events continue and the deadly virus has infected almost the entire human population in this world. Those who survived the zombie attack are now sheltering in a military bunker in the heavily fortified mountains. The soldiers set up defensive barricades with guard posts scattered throughout the bunker area and monitored for a full 24 hours. Zoe was researching a blood sample in her room when a woman came up and told her that her daughter, Lily, had a high fever. Zoe, the only doctor in the bunker, immediately checked Lily's condition. She was lying on her bed weakly because of her pneumonia. Apparently, the antibiotics that Zoe had been given had absolutely no effect on her. Lily's condition got even worse. Zoe reports Lily's condition to the military camp leader, named Miguel. She insists to Miguel that Lily must be dealt with quickly to save the little girl's life. She asks the soldiers to pick up the medicines she needed in a medical room inside the campus building. Miguel's jaw hardened. He didn't like someone dictating his actions. He objected to Zoe's request because it was too risky, and the situation out there was getting worse by the day. He does not want to take the risk of endangering the lives of his men. After a tough debate, Miguel finally softened and agreed to her request. The next day, Zoe and a special unit led by Bacca prepare to carry out a mission to take special drugs to cure Lily. Bacca, who is Zoe's boyfriend, is Miguel's brother. Bacca then reveals that Miguel is very similar to their father, as he always wants to be the greatest. The car they were traveling in suddenly broke down as they entered the wilderness area. The damage to the car was quite severe, forcing the team to stay in the forest till nightfall. What they feared finally happened. Swarms of zombies came from all directions, attacking them. Some soldiers intend to return to the bunker, but Zoe warns them by thinking back of Lily's severe condition. As the special unit struggles to fend off zombie attacks, Zoe tries to start the car's engine. Miraculously, the car engine started again, and they all managed to get out of the forest. Arriving at the university, Zoe and her team went straight to the medical room to get medicine for Lily. One by one, the zombies began to arrive in the dark room, attacking them. The group tries to escape, but one of the soldiers, Frank, is seriously injured, and they are forced to abandon their comrades and rush out of the campus building. Upon arriving back at the bunker, Bacca and his team, including Zoe, must confront Miguel, who is furious over his reckless actions that resulted in the death of one of their comrades. Undiscovered to anyone, a zombie hid under the car and managed to sneak into the bunker ventilation duct. The zombie growled as it caught Zoe and Bacca kissing as if it's feeling jealous. One of the security guards who heard the zombies growl then tried to check the sound source coming from the air vent. The officer went in there and was immediately pounced on by the zombie. The scene switches when Zoe checks Lily's condition, which is gradually improving after taking the right medicine. Zoe left Lily to rest and walked down the deserted hallway. Suddenly she was startled by a zombie who jumped from the air vent. She immediately ran away, but she had time to set off the alarm to warn all the people in the bunker. Zoe was pushed to the end of a dead-end hallway. The zombie caught up with her, but he didn't attack Zoe and tried to communicate with her by showing his arm. The zombie turns out to be Max, who still has consciousness and recognizes Zoe. Max then shoved Zoe against the corridor wall, intending to continue what he had been doing before. But Becca and the others arrive just in time and start shooting at him. Unexpectedly, Zoe prevents her friends who intend to kill Max and orders them to capture and bind Max to be the object of research. Miguel, who had just arrived, was about to shoot Max dead but was immediately blocked by Zoe. She tells Miguel that Max still has human consciousness, and she manages to prove it by raising her arm in front of Max, and he doesn't bite her. Zoe then begs Miguel to let him live, so that she can create a vaccine for Max's special antibodies. Miguel then agreed. A few days later, Zoe discovered that Max's vital organs, such as his heart and brain, were still functioning properly. She also tries to take a sample of Max's blood, although he tries to harass her by licking her face. Becca, who had just arrived in the room, then approached Zoe. Zoe then tells Becca that Max has a special hormone that might be used as a vaccine, but she had to research blood samples from other zombies to compare them. Becca refused her request. He didn't want to risk the lives of his comrades anymore, and Miguel would be furious with him. But in the end, Zoe finally managed to convince him. They split into 2 teams and began to carry out missions at nightfall, which of course, was unknown to Miguel. Becca immediately fired at the zombie, then Zoe quickly took a blood sample. But the crowds of zombies that came were too many. Becca and his troops were pushed to the point where they could no longer stand with the incoming waves of zombies. They rushed to escape from there, leaving the gate wide open for the bloodthirsty zombies. Miguel was furious that no one had reported this mission to him. Unexpectedly, a soldier who was next to Zoe turned out to have been bitten by a zombie and showed signs of changing. Miguel immediately pointed a gun at that soldier and is about to shoot a bullet straight into her head. Zoe tries to stop Miguel by saying she will soon make the vaccine, but his gun aims at her. Then he shot the soldier in the head, so blood splashed on Zoe's face. He glared at Zoe, who dared to organize his troops at will, and cursed her because his colleagues died again. Miguel no longer cares about Zoe's vaccine research and threatens to kill Max in 12 hours. Disappointed with his brother's treatment of Zoe, Becca scolds Miguel that his actions had gone too far. Miguel then hit back at Becca by arguing that his entire action in this bunker was to protect the remaining humans. Zoe had messed with the bunker's defenses with ambition and false hopes about a vaccine. Miguel began to instigate Becca. He told his brother that the zombie Zoe was researching had her name engraved on his arm. Zoe and Max must have known each other before the zombie apocalypse. Becca then goes to Zoe to prove Miguel's statement. Zoe revealed that she did know Max because he had special antibodies that made him the object of his campus research. That Max often harasses her and tries to overpower her just before a swarm of zombies attacks in the city. Zoe asked Becca one thing, and that was to have complete faith in her. Moments later, Alphonse and one of his comrades meet Zoe, examining a sample of Zombie's blood. They brought a cup of coffee and tried to cheer Zoe up after her dispute with Miguel. Alphonse's female companion approached Max and sneered at him. Suddenly Max was annoyed and tried to strangle the female soldier. Alphonse and Zoe rushed to his aid, and when he banged Max against the wall, Max managed to grab the key to the handcuffs from his pocket. When Zoe was alone in her room, Max, who had freed himself, immediately hugged her from behind, but Zoe hit him in the face with a medicine bottle and ran out of the room. Zoe then called for help. Becca and Alphonse arrived first, then went into Zoe's room to catch Max, but the man had disappeared somewhere. The bunker alarm sounded again due to an emergency. Becca reports that Max has run away and Miguel then tries to calm the panicked civilians. The scene then shows Lily running in the hallway, crying in fear. It turns out that her mother has turned into a zombie and is now trying to kill her. Lily's step stopped when she was trapped between the wall, and her mother was about to eat her. Suddenly Max came and killed Lily's mother. He then covered Lily's mouth and kidnapped her. During panic and chaos in the bunker, Zoe managed to find Lily, who was being held hostage by Max. Max said that he would let Lily go if she stayed with him. Zoe agreed because she was thinking about Lily's safety. She put the gun to the ground, and Max freed Lily. But with a burning spirit of survival, Lily instead fled from there, braved the currents of zombies that began to enter the bunker. Zoe rushed after Lily out of the gate in Max's sight. Miguel immediately closed the gate to prevent the zombies' invasion from entering the bunker. But he gets resistance from Becca because Zoe and Lily are outside the gate. Miguel didn't care, he just wanted to save the remaining residents. But Becca insisted that the gate should be opened again. The quarrel between the two brothers was unavoidable. Miguel was already pointing the tip of his gun at Becca and was about to blow him off when suddenly a zombie pounced on him. Becca tries to help his brother, but Miguel's life can't be saved. The scene switches to Zoe and Lily who were trying to hide in the greenhouse. Zoe then beheaded Max and removed his organs from his body to make sure that he is dead. Zoe and Lily then return to the bunker to find Becca. Becca tells Zoe that he is infected and intends to kill himself because he doesn't want to be a zombie. But Zoe tries to convince him that she can cure him with a completed vaccine sample. Becca hesitated for a moment before finally lowering his gun and accepting Zoe's offer to heal him. At the end of the story, Zoe, Becca, and Lily managed to survive and began to renovate the bunker with the help of the civilians and soldiers who survived the bloody incident last night. Zoe then sends a message through a radio broadcast to all the survivors outside the bunker that they have a vaccine and they can save humanity from the zombie invasion. The film ends.